Only 2 or 3 people on this entire planet know KFC's real secret recipe. Not the CEO, not the head chef, not even the president of the company. That's not a cute fact for the back of a bucket. That's an actual, deliberate corporate policy. And here's what's even crazier. The recipe isn't the biggest secret KFC is hiding. The real secret is the money. Where it goes, who actually owns what, and why a country that isn't even America runs a spin-off that quietly makes more money than the company that owns KFC everywhere else combined. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll know why the man who invented Kentucky Fried Chicken ended up despising the company he built. You'll know why almost nobody working the counter at your local KFC actually works for KFC. And you will never look at a bucket the same way again. So here's the whole story in one sentence, before we go deep. KFC isn't really in the chicken business. It's in the licensing business. It sells its name, its secrecy, and an old man's smile, and lets everyone else carry the risk. Let that sit for a second. Now, let's go back to where it actually started, because the real story is wilder than anything in the fine print. Harlan Sanders' father died when he was a boy. He dropped out of school in the 7th grade. He worked as a farmhand, a soldier, a railroad laborer, and an insurance salesman. He ran a ferry boat company, sold it, started a lamp manufacturing business with the money. That business collapsed. He went into tire sales next. He got fired from that too. In 1930, broke and in his 40s, he started frying chicken at a gas station in Corbin, Kentucky. He figured out a pressure cooker could get his chicken done in 9 minutes instead of 30. That one trick became the backbone of an empire. In 1935, Kentucky's governor handed him the honorary title Colonel. Not the army, a governor. He just never took the costume off again. Then in the 1950s, a new interstate highway rerouted traffic away from his restaurant, and the business collapsed. He was 65. His only income was a $105 Social Security check. So he did something most 65-year-olds never do. He put a pressure cooker in his car and started driving to restaurants, cooking his chicken for owners on the spot, offering them a cut of every piece sold if they put it on the menu. He got turned down more than 1,000 times. Over 1,000 restaurant owners looked at a broke old man with a pressure cooker and said no. Finally, a restaurant owner named Pete Harmon said yes. Sanders agreed to take 4 cents for every chicken sold. 4 cents built a global empire. Here's the twist almost nobody remembers. In 1964, Sanders sold the whole company for $2 million. Then he stayed on as the paid spokesman, touring restaurants, doing interviews, smiling for the cameras. And the entire time, he was telling anyone who'd listen that the new owners were ruining his chicken. The man on the bucket was being paid to promote a company he was publicly trashing. Keep that in your head. Now let's talk about the recipe, because the secrecy around it is basically a business model of its own. The original recipe is handwritten, signed by Sanders, and locked inside a vault at KFC's headquarters in Louisville. Only one person on Earth knows the combination. KFC never patented it. Here's why that's smart. A patent forces you to publish your formula so anyone can read it. A trade secret doesn't. So KFC chose secrecy over a patent, and that secret can now legally stay hidden forever. To protect it, KFC splits actual production between 2 competing suppliers, Griffith Laboratories and McCormick. One blends half the herbs and spices. The other blends the rest. Neither company has ever seen the full formula. In 2016, Sanders' own nephew claimed he'd found the real recipe scribbled in an old family notebook and got it published in a newspaper. KFC has never officially confirmed whether that leak was even real. KFC even turned the secrecy itself into advertising. At one point, the brand literally used RoboCop as a fictional guardian of the recipe in a marketing campaign. The vault isn't just security anymore, it's free advertising, forever. Now here's where it gets real. Forget the chicken for a second. Let's talk about what KFC is actually selling. because it's not what you think. Opening one KFC today costs somewhere between $1.2 million and over $4 million, depending on location and build. That's before a single wing gets cooked. Just the license to use the KFC name costs $45,000, non-refundable, paid up front. Then comes the background checks, the financial disclosures, the interviews. Full approval can take 3 to 6 months before you're even allowed to break ground. Once you're open, you hand over 5% of every dollar in sales as a royalty, plus another 5% into a marketing fund. That's 10% off the top forever, whether your location turns a profit or not. And even after all that, a typical KFC pulls in around $1.6 million a year in sales. A McDonald's at a similar investment level pulls in more than double that, close to $3.3 million. Same size check to get in, very different size paycheck coming back out.
Some franchise data even shows it can take 14 to 16 years just to earn back your original investment. That's not a side hustle. That's basically a mortgage with a chicken bucket sitting on top of it. The franchise owner pays the rent. The franchise owner pays the staff. The franchise owner eats every chicken price spike. Yum Brands, the company that actually owns KFC, never touches any of that. That's why Yum Brands runs an operating profit margin of around 31%. That's not a restaurant company's margin. That's a software company's margin. And it's because Yum barely runs any restaurants itself. Roughly 1,500 franchise groups operate the majority of its more than 63,000 restaurants across 155 countries.
The KFC side alone counts almost 34,000 locations, and 90% of them sit outside the United States. Compare that to its sister brand, Taco Bell, where 86% of stores are inside the US. KFC is Yum's global engine. Taco Bell is its American cash cow. On top of all that, close to 60% of Yum's total sales now happen through apps, delivery, and digital ordering. A company that started as one man's fried chicken recipe is quietly turning into a technology company that happens to sell chicken. In just the last 3 months of 2025, KFC opened 1,132 new restaurants around the world. That's roughly 12 brand new KFCs opening somewhere on Earth every single day for 3 straight months.
Now, let's close that first loop, the one about a spin-off making more money than its own parent. KFC opened in China in 1987, 3 full years before McDonald's ever showed up there. By 2015, China alone had grown into more than half of Yum's entire global revenue. Shareholders didn't want that much money sitting inside one company, so in 2016, Yum spun off its Chinese operations into a completely separate public company called Yum China. In 2025, that spin-off reported $11.8 billion in revenue. The actual parent company, Yum Brands, running KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and Habit Burger Grill across 155 countries combined, brought in $8.2 billion. Read that again. The Chinese arm of KFC's business now makes more money on its own than the entire worldwide parent company that still owns the name. And in China, KFC isn't just present, it's dominant, running roughly double the number of locations McDonald's has there. One more secret before we're done, and it's the one that actually explains where the profit hides inside every single order you place. The chicken isn't the profit center. A fountain drink costs the restaurant a few cents in syrup and carbonation and sells for $2 or $3. That's a margin north of 90%, compared to somewhere around 30 to 40% on the food itself. That's why every combo pushes you toward a bigger cup and an extra side. It was never really about how hungry you were. It was about the drink sitting in your hand.
So here's where all of this lands. Colonel Sanders built a chicken recipe out of pure desperation, sold it for $2 million, then spent his final years hating what it became, all while getting paid to smile for its cameras. KFC turned that same recipe into a secret so tightly guarded that no single person alive fully knows it. And underneath the secrecy, and underneath that smiling old man on the bucket, sits a machine that barely touches chicken at all. One that collects a cut of other people's risk in over 150 countries. One new restaurant every couple of hours, somewhere on Earth. So next time you're holding that bucket, you're not just holding dinner. You're holding one of the most quietly profitable licensing deals on the planet, wearing a Colonel's smile as a disguise.